Matt Lenihan Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. We're here, Joe Gallagher. Joe, I know I've been blowing your phone up over last week. Didn't quite realise until a few days in you were in Saudi, but look, I know you're back and forth. How's Saudi been anyway? It's always good to see out there.
Yeah, no, it's doing really well over there. The group of boxers that we've got over there, they're coming on very well. They've had a couple of competitions, they've had a show, and there's some real good talent beginning to emerge there. As I say, the seeds are planted and some of them have got to grow, and I feel if I walked in there at the moment, there's at least 3, 4, possibly 5 that you could turn professionals straight away, that you could bring over here, put on a boxing show, and everyone would go, wow, who are these kids? There is some real good talent emerging coming out of that gymnasium, and it'll be exciting to watch them grow.
Having a good run at the minute. I mean, I think I spoke to you before the Crystal Palace show, and we were like, look, Mikaela McGowan put on a hell of a performance against Sebastian Barao. I mean, brave as out, tough, won some rounds in that fight. Then we went down to London for the replacement in Jack Massey, which everybody knew wasn't just a standing replacement, and he went and did a terrific job on Isaac Chamberlain, another good fighter. Lawrence as well. Things are looking up. You've got Billy Denise on this show. Good time for the gym.
Yeah, the gym's doing well at the moment, as you said there. Mikaela was unlucky for his European title shot. Listen, he got an opportunity, he went in and he grabbed it with both hands. Like I said to Mikaela, now you fought the European middleweight champion in Tyler Denny, and you lost on a split decision. Some thought you won, I thought you won. And then you've also gone and fought the junior welterweight one now and pushed him, and a lot had it level after 6, 7, but you could see the kids sort of like begin to push on in the middle rounds. But Mikaela, I did half threaten him to pull it, but he wanted to go out on his shield, and he did do. And Lawrence Okolie was really pleased with his performance. I was annoyed and pleased at the same time. Annoyed that it took him so long to pull the trigger. Annoyed that we didn't get to show everyone more that we did, but also beggars can't be choosers. And I'll say, Jack Massey, listen, he got the fight 4 or 5 weeks notice, stepped in and he grabbed the opportunity, and Isaac was going to come back into it, and Jack needed to win them late championship rounds to win the fight, and I asked him to go out and do it, and he did do it. So I'm really happy for Jack, European and Commonwealth champion. And obviously we had Clark Smith, and we also had Mikey Talon on them Wasserman shows in Bolton, so that was really good for them. Josh Holmes, obviously he's had an out and out. Sean Yaxley had fought, and obviously Billy fought, and now here we are now, when we all think we all should be on summer holiday breaks and holidays.
There is no break.
No break, and here we are in sunny Barnsley, and Billy Dennis having his first fight, obviously on Sky, bit of a big platform for him, and I've just told him to take it all in and enjoy himself. But he's not in with no muppet tomorrow night. He's in with a decent kid, a kid that's been the distance with Dan Aziz. Yeah, Dan Aziz, lost in 7-8 over Zach Parker, been in with Ben Whittaker, coming off a good win. Kid knows his way around, and this is a step up in class for Billy. And as well as it being on a big stage, there's a lot of contributing factors, and I've sent him to his room now, get his head down, have a bit of a slip, and he's just got to make sure he gets the win tomorrow night.
Yeah, it'd be good to see how he handles himself. I know he's always wanted an opportunity at a bigger stage, and he's got it. Talk to me a little bit about Natasha Jonas before we talk about obviously the main event here and other things in boxing. Many felt that the Mikaela Mayer fight was going to happen, the rematch, it was talked about, and then I've seen online it looks like Sandy Ryan and Mikaela Mayer in New York. I mean, I've not seen an official fight poster, but from your end, what's going on with Tash?
God knows, even Tash doesn't know what's going on with Tash. It's a shame how the year seems to be playing out at the moment. Obviously, when she won back in January, February, I think it was, we thought we'd be out May, beginning of June before her birthday, and then the big one before the end of the year. That hasn't seemed to be now, so Tasha's enjoying life. She's just come back off holiday with her daughter and all her friends and their daughters. She's back in the gym training. And hopefully we'll have her out back in September, early October. That's where we'd like Natasha to fight. And at the same time, Katie, I think, is fighting around that time. Katie Serrano, I don't know.
November time, I think.
Yeah, November time. So I'd really like the two of them then to have the final dance together, St. Pat's next year, something like that. But yeah, so as far as Natasha's concerned, like I say, I spoke to John Wish today, and Natasha's waiting to hear back from Ben Shalom, and hopefully we'll have a date for her for September. Because the little thing is it's not criticised anyone. No one's really took advantage of it. Everyone was always, Natasha didn't have that signature name, and then she went and performed. She beat Mikaela in a humdinger of a fight, which I'm sure will be up for one of the fights of the year this year. And she had the profile afterwards and everything else, and no one's just really kicked on with it, and they just let it die a little bit. But listen, Tasha's in the gym now. She's training, and she'll be ready to go end of September, beginning of October. That's what we hope for her.
100%. I think you just said there as well with Katie Taylor. It'd be nice to see that run back as one last dance for maybe both of them.
Yeah, we were saying, me and Tasha were talking in the gym the other day. Obviously the Olympics 2012, and she's gone, wow, how fast it's gone, 12 years and this. And here they are, 12. And this is what I'm trying to explain to people, Billy Dennis for one, and the young kids in the gym. It isn't a process that all of a sudden it just is bestowed on you all of a sudden. Here you are, a superstar. You have to put time and effort in. And I was saying about Zelfa Barrett, who used to help Anthony Croller out in 2015, 16. And now it's took 7-8 years since then for him to be here, being around it. And Natasha and Katie now, 24, 12 years on, two-weight world champion, multiple world champions, and the two queens of boxing. So there's a process you've got to do, but it would be good to see the two of them have that last dance together, whether it be at the co-op or whether it be in Ireland or wherever. But I just think they're the right dance partners, and the professional fight was behind closed doors. Imagine the noise of the two of them. I think that's the fight. I think a lot of people want to see that fight, and I think that's it. Obviously, you mentioned there Mikaela now versus Sandy Ryan. That's a good fight. Interesting, because I think Sandy went there and was coached by Mikaela's trainers. So I wonder who's got to do the coaching in that fight. So that's an interesting subplot. But I think Mikaela's a good fighter. Sandy's good, ambitious. It really is a good fight. I look forward to seeing that. And whenever it is, if it permits, I'm most probably being Tasha, most probably might go to that.
100% cracking fight, I think. Right time for both to make that fight. A lot of fights happening in boxing now. Terence Crawford and Israil Madrimov on the same night as obviously this card here. We'll come on to Callum and that in a minute. What do you make of this? There's a lot of noise in the background circling around if Terence gets past Madrimov. A potential Canelo fight waiting in the wings with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh pulling the strings and saying, I'll go cut the middleman out and make a direct offer, which I'm sure he will. What do you make of the Madrimov fight, though, first? It's a terrific fight.
Yeah, it's a good fight. It's an interesting fight. I enjoyed watching Terence Crawford this week. I think they've done a very good job. Terence Crawford over these last few weeks. I'm not saying people didn't know Terence, but they didn't really know the warm side of Terence Crawford, the banter of Terence Crawford, and they heard about his life and shot in the head and driving himself to the hospital, and he came over here and beat Ricky Burns, and he was world champion at 135, then 140, 147, and now he's trying to do that big move up to 154 for Madrimov. Will he win? I think he will win. I think skills pay bills. I think he'll win. Madrimov's a very good fighter, a very solid operator, and I'm sure it won't make it easy for Terence Crawford. But I think a lot of people now, it's always at the end of the career that the general public are beginning to warm to Terence Crawford and like him, and like I say, he's getting to be no spring chicken neither. But if they were to make that fight, Canelo and Terence, I don't know what weight it'd be at, because I don't think Canelo can go much more under 168 or 160. I think that'd be very hard. And if Terence's attitude, Canelo's attitude would be like, well, you want to fight me. And 168 is that one weight too far, in the same way Canelo, that one weight too far when he fought Bivol was a little bit, do you understand? So they always say a good big and beats a good little, and I think Canelo and Terence have got, I'd say, 18 months, 2 years left in the sport now.
Would you, on the flip side to that then, prefer to see a fight between a Terence Crawford and a Jaron Boots Ennis, who's coming off a victory over David Avanesian? As a boxing purist, someone involved in the sport, when you look at Boots' skill set, Avanesian, tough man, they've both been in with him. You look at that and go, I'd love to see that fight.
Yeah, that's a great fight. I really rate Boots Ennis. He's a top fighter, very, very good. Yeah, like you said to you, Crawford and Boots Ennis, and I think that Riyadh season over in America this weekend, the raising the profile, the amount of fights that the undercard, no matter what state the boxers are from, it's drawing the attention, raising the profile, and they're underseeing what type of banter and character Terence Crawford is. And I think all of a sudden he's got to have a load of huge new support, and the American public will warm to him a lot bit more. I'm not going to say he's got to be a Sugar Ray Leonard darling of the media at times, do you understand? Yeah. But I do feel at the same time everyone warmed to Marvin Hagler and loved Marvin Hagler at the end, and I think Terence Crawford is a very special fighter, and I think people are beginning to recognise his skill set, which I do. But that fight with Boots Ennis, that's a real good fight, that.
Canelo, in the meantime, was sort of circulating that with Chris Eubank Jr. signing with Boxer Sky, there was potential there for that fight. Didn't happen, and he's now fighting his mandatory in Edgar Berlanga. What's your thoughts on that? Canelo obviously sitting at the top of boxing, quote-unquote face of boxing, alongside the likes of obviously the big heavyweights and another fighter such as a Tank Davis. What do you make of the Berlanga fight, honestly?
Well, Berlanga, it's hard. It's hard. I think it's a hard fight. Canelo's got to be on it, and people can't start knocking Canelo for ducking anyone. Canelo's fought everyone and anyone. At a very young age in his career, he was wanting to fight everyone. He went and fought Mayweather when it was just a bit before his time, but he learned an awful lot from that. And I think when you look at Mayweather's career, sometimes his hand-picked kids, and I thought most probably the Marcus Madana fight was something that he thought was that, and that ended up turning into be having a rematch, a really hard fight before him. So Canelo have to be at his best for Berlanga. Berlanga it's a huge opportunity for him as well. But I don't like it when they're saying they're ducking this and they're ducking that. You can't do that to Canelo, who's been really good for the sport.
Do you always find that, especially we know because we sort of surround every day is something to do with boxing, but the guys at the top of their game, when you're coming up, it's all well and good. Then when you get to the top, no matter where you are, there's always going to be someone else. So if you say he went and beat Benavidez, and then he beats Berlanga, there'd always be David Morrell. Why are you not fighting Morrell? And it's like, you can't go on forever. He's a good fighter.
Morrell is a very, very good fighter. He was close to being Callum Smith's mandatory, and that was going back a few years ago. He only had 5-6 fights, and all of a sudden he was number 2, number 3. But he's a very good fighter, and like we just spoke about Natasha, there's fighters for generations, and he's the new generation of fighters. Canelo needs to do what he needs to do. Emotionally, we might one day go, come on, videos, we might have it, but Canelo's learned and watched and seen how Mayweather did things, and the golden rule is, he was the gold, make the rules, and that's it.
100%. How much have you seen of the Olympics? A few decisions going awry. I mean, nothing much changed in the history of time when you look at a Roy Jones, Floyd Mayweather, a Shakur Stevenson. You look at all these fighters over the years, it seems like it's almost like that's sometimes like the benchmark where maybe they don't get what they want, and then you see them have this amazing professional career just nip out. What have you made of the Olympics, or if you've seen any of it?
One thing about the Olympics, and especially the boxing side of it, and I spoke to a few people there today, is the Beijing Olympics and the London Olympics. If you were to watch boxing, there was the BBC iPlayer, and then there's a red button, and then you came up, and that channel was boxing, that channel was beach volleyball, that one was like curling or whatever, rugby. But this year it's just like, where's the boxing? You can't find the boxing. You don't know where to tune in, which network, wherever. You can't find it. And next thing you see the result on social media, and you go, well, what channel was that on? BBC didn't show it, so you tune to BBC. As that fight's going on, BBC aren't showing it. It's on some other Discovery Plus or Peacock or wherever. And that's the thing, really. I think the amateur boxing has been hit. Obviously, we haven't done very well up to now this year. We've only got one kid left in it. But they're just to be able to access it and watch it. There aren't as many channels on the BBC platform this year to show the event. Boxing was always the morning, and then there's the afternoon or the nighttime session. So that was it. There's a few fights, obviously, the controversial with the Italian girl. There's been a few upsets up to now. The Irish team were kicking off the day before over the decision. It's amateur boxing. It isn't looking good at the moment, because obviously there's no amateur boxing for 2028 at the moment, and with the eyes of the world, can you imagine what the viewing audience is going to be when that lady steps into the ring to fight? I think it's Sunday or Monday. They're all got to tune in, but they're tuning in for the wrong reasons. Yeah,
I think boxing, just coming back to, obviously that's caused what it's caused. People have said what they've said about that whole scenario, but in terms of going back to decisions, this has been something that's been going on for many years. Do you think the fact that we're seeing controversy surrounding athletes not maybe getting the right decisions has impacted Olympics not being in the next year? Because people are like, well, what we're watching kind of thing. Everyone's in uproar. Nearly every other fight that someone's getting robbed.
I think amateur boxing has changed so much. Obviously, 70s, 80s, 60s, years ago, everyone used to be in the Olympics, but box like pro. Because they trained like pros, everything else. Then they brought in the computer scoring system, and everyone had to change the style, and everyone had to box a computer. Then you were basically beating the opponent, but it was computer. It was like tick-kick or fencing was a better equivalent in your score, so that was it. So then now they've changed the scoring back to pro scoring, 10-9 rounds, but the style is still quite bum 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 2-3, quite
busy, isn't it?
Yeah, so quite busy, quite quick. And the kids that are thinking they're winning the fights because the pressure and the pro are supposed to win 10-9 rounds are getting pipped and nicked, and it's all blurred lines at the moment. And it'll take a while for it to settle down, but it'll be interesting to see how many more bad decisions there'll be now as we get into the medal stages, in the quarters, the semis, and the goals.
100%. Look, some huge fights on the horizon. We've always spoke, when we do these interviews, these lengthy sit-downs, which I'm always grateful for, around some of the big fights that may happen. There was talks of a Tank versus Loma, for instance. Loma's now out of them negotiations, but we have a Shakur Stevenson in his prime, or approaching maybe his prime years. You've got Gervonta Davis, who's probably in his prime and, going towards a peak. Aside from the big heavyweight fights, how big is that fight between Tank and Shakur Stevenson for boxing, especially on the American side, and how much would you like to see that before it ended?
No, Tank, that's a great shame it hasn't happened with Loma, but you can understand Loma. People forget he was involved with the war and everything's going back home and his family and that. But Tank, Shakur Stevenson, these are the fights that people keep saying, in the prime and everything else, and it's like we had Michael Watson, Nigel Benn early on, do you understand? We had Tommy Hearns and Leonard in their early 20s, but we're having to wait for these fights to happen now. We've just spoke about Canelo, Crawford in the mid-30s, early 30s, Usyk 37, 38, whatever he is. He's the eldest of the heavyweights yet. Doesn't look it, doesn't seem it. And it's like, well, let's make the fights now. Like, why? It's like Joshua Dubois. I'm so glad that's happening now, because they're both in good runs of form, and they're both pointing like, Joshua didn't really need to take it, but Daniel's tail up, he's doing it, and that's a great fight that's happening now. Not, we'll wait, and it's like Tank Stevenson, let's just go and do it. And I'm sure the man to make it happen will be Turk, and if he thinks he wants it, he'll be sending a knock on the door and which card do you want, what watch do you want, or whatever, do you understand? And it'd be great for boxing, because it really has, over the last 12 months with Riyadh season kicking in, we are getting some really good fights. We've had some great nights out in Saudi. There's a great show coming up in Sender. We've had the 5v5, we've had upsets. And on the world stage as well, you look at a new way, the fights he's had, he's coming through the weight divisions, do you understand? Tank Davis, do you know what I mean? Lomachenko. It is, and we're all saying at the beginning of 2023, boxing has to pull his socks up because it's about to go out here. No one was doing anything, no fights were being made, and the UFC was on an unbelievable rise. What's the boxing called, the silly boxing at the moment?
Oh, I don't really want to say that. What you mean, the influencer boxing?
Yeah, what's it called?
Oh, you mean Misfits boxing?
Oh, Misfits, yeah. And then now you've got the Misfits boxing coming through. Do you understand? So, and that was beginning to get more coverage than boxing. But boxing's done the right thing. It's pulled its feet up. It's made the fights and put everyone back in the place.
100%. Who would you favour if that fight got made? Because I look at all the fights and I'm like, if I could map out the end of the year, we're going to see Fury Usyk 2. It's going to be a great spectacle. Crawford, we think, depending on Madrimov, may get Canelo, may get a Boots, whatever. That's sort of there. I think that'll happen. Turkey can probably make that happen. But Tank versus Shakur, for me personally, I'm like, sign me up, take my money for that fight. How do you see that fight, like from a trainer's perspective, a fan's perspective?
Listen, two very, very, very skilled fighters, two ambitious fighters, and I always feel Gervonta never really gets out of second, third gear. He's so composed, and I just think someone like Shakur Stevenson has got to make Gervonta out to boxing gears 5 and 6, and I also feel Gervonta will make Shakur at the top of his game. So, like I just said to you there, even when he fought Santa Cruz and everything else, it's like, eventually I'll get you, do you understand? And I think Gervonta has still got to offer so much more, and a fight with Shakur Stevenson will bring the best out of him.
100%. Look, last but not least, we're here this week. We mentioned earlier about Billy Dennis being on this card. A good fight at the top of the bill. Callum Simpson challenges for British title in his hometown. He's done 7,000 tickets within 48 hours, one of the quickest pre-sales boxer I've had. Facts. but it's a step up for him. Zach Chelli has been around this level for a long time, and if you don't turn up, you don't perform, you're under par, it can make you look silly. How do you see this main event?
For Callum Simpson, this is his walking through the door moment, as we call you, walk through the door. Tonight, Matthew, I'm got to be a British champion. So this is his opportunity. He's got to do it tonight, British and Commonwealth on the line. He's coming into a good run of form. I think it's 14-0 now, Callum. Zach Chelli, I don't want to give him any discredit because calling him a bogey man. But if you're not prepared, Zach Chelli will take you into deep waters. He's fit, he's on it, and obviously he's been in with better opposition. He's come off now a win over Jack Cullen, British champion again. He's had some hard fights in the past. I think he can drag you. A bit like Hopkins, he's that type of kid. He can drag you into a hard fight. Callum Simpson with the fans and the emotions. I'm sure he'll be quick out of the blocks. I can see Callum Simpson being a bit of a Joe Gallagher with him on the ropes. Fast hands, ref jumps in, late on down the straps. I can also see Callum Simpson, emotions and everything else beginning to hit the wall a bit in them rounds, and Zach beginning to pull him into it, and it being a dogfight the last 2 or 3 rounds. So it's an interesting fight, and no wonder it's sold out. It's not a gimme fight, and full credit to Zach Chelli coming up here into the challenger's back garden, defending his belts, and I'm sure I'll be wanting to take them back down south with him.
100%. Joe Gallagher, appreciate you giving us some of your time. It's going to be an interesting night tomorrow night. We wish you the best with your fighter, young charging Billy, and we'll catch up after the fight. But appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.